Hey everybody, this is Bryan Scott from the Union Underground, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Bryan Scott of the Union Underground.
Yeah, promoting the upcoming tour Back to the 2000s, featuring the Union Underground, Soil, Raw, and Flaw.
Yeah, each one of the bands is going to be picking, I think, their debut album and going to be playing them
in its entirety, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so also be on the lookout for the Union Underground material. I guess they're recording a new album, so I think we're anticipating something by the end of the year, maybe, knock on wood.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's get to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Bryan, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Bryan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. Eric, Jeff.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. We're excited to have you tonight, so let's get right into it. This March, the Union Underground, Soil, Raw, and Flaw will be part of the Back to the 2000s tour. Can you talk a little bit more about how this tour got organized?
Tim from Soil and I have been talking for probably 2 or 3 years about doing something together, and it finally just kind of worked out in everyone's schedules. And Tim pitched the idea to me about the Back to the 2000s theme and kind of, everyone playing stuff from their first records, and I thought that was pretty cool. So we kind of finally got to a place where it's like, hey man, 2024, there's some openings. Let's try and get it done. So it actually came together pretty quickly once we had that conversation and were able to kind of see an opening.
Yeah, very good.
So yeah, it was just something that we had been toying with for a couple of years, and we're finally getting it out, which is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I know some of our listeners will be excited because looking at some of those dates, you guys got some Midwest shows in there. What can some of the fans expect from Union Underground in the show?
And so, this is the first. We hope to get a second leg out of this lineup. Maybe minus a band or two if they can't make it, but that's all kind of still in the works, so nothing to announce yet, but we do hope to get a second leg of this out eventually this year. So we'll spread to the East and West Coast if we do that. So yeah, but for the moment we're kind of up the Midwest, and we're going a bit to the East Coast, Northeast. over to Maine, I think is the last, or the furthest show up there. We're going to do, an Education and Rebellion in its entirety, and then a song called Across the Nation, and then probably two, maybe for sure two songs that people haven't heard. I'm a little reluctant to play songs that I know will be singles from the new record live too early on before before it's released for all the obvious reasons. But we'll definitely be playing some stuff that people have not heard. So that's that's exciting for people that are coming to the shows. It won't only be Rebellion.
Absolutely. Well, you kind of answered this question, but this run is going to go 4 weeks. And so in the later part of 2024, if you're able to do a second leg, are you looking at another 4-week leg, or how's it going to work out, do you think, or how do you foresee it working out?
Probably. It would be right around that amount of time, I would imagine, just to cover. We won't do like a full North American tour until 2025. As far as like a full run, a nonstop run.
Yeah.
We're doing the UK in November this year, which is not announced yet, but so I can't really, give any details about it.
Yeah.
But, that I think that's literally going to be announced in a few days. But, so we are doing that, which is exciting because, I get bombarded with UK requests, so that's going to be super fun to get back over there again.
Very good.
Nice. Back in the 2000s heyday, did you guys get over there back then?
Yeah. We did full European run over there, and several shows in the UK.
Oh, very good. When it comes to, I guess, going out on the road and doing the entire album, will the set list be a chronological track from track 1 all the way to the end, or will you guys kind of mix it up and kind of go all over the album and finish it off in a chronological order, or just kind of wherever you feel like it?
Yeah, we'll mix it up simply because sometimes live playing, it has to feel right to the kind of the show we're putting together.
Yeah.
So in rehearsals, it just, it doesn't always flow properly to play the songs in chronological order. So yeah, it's kind of all over the place.
Oh, very good.
I know in the bio, and you kind of alluded to it, you guys do have a new album you're working on. Can you give our listeners a little insight into, are you past the demo stage, or are you actually tracked the album yet, or how's it been working?
Yeah, there's there's real tracks done. Not at the mixing or mastering stage yet.
Okay.
So, it's all in process, but with this record, what I didn't want to do, since it's been a bit of time, right, between records. So what I didn't want to do, I really wanted to, which is kind of, part of the reason why I felt like I wanted to kind of, stop the process on the second record originally, is just, I want it to sound like a continuation of Rebellion. In other words, I don't want to release like what Union Underground would sound like if they formed in 2024 and put out a hard rock / metal record.
Yeah, exactly.
I want it to be a continuation of that sound and that vibe and that kind of eclectic mix of songs. And so that's what I'm really focused on. I don't really have any intention of implementing, new metal influences, new metal meaning NEW, not NU.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when it comes to, all these years later in writing and recording a new album, has your songwriting evolved, matured, or do you feel like you're still kind of the same songwriter you were and are back then to now?
The same immature ass face that I was back then. Well, yeah, I mean, so I have a project called Cult to Follow, that, you know, that I've had for several years. It's been kind of my focus of the last 10 years or so. And so with that, I've grown a lot as a songwriter, and but the great thing about Union is that I can kind of reserve that kind of kid in me, that kind of just angry kid, and let that shit out with Union. You know, Cold Fall is a little bit of a different vibe.
Sure.
And so that's what's nice about it, you know, to be able to kind of get back into that headspace as a writer and just kind of let a little bit of madness out, as opposed to everything being so methodical, you know, with Cult.
Absolutely. Jeff, you got the next one?
Well, yeah, I know the tour is kicking off in San Antonio, Texas, which is, you know, the home base for the band. Can you talk a little bit about your connection to San Antonio and you know, their reception with Union Underground?
Yeah, you know, it is really cool that we're starting here. I think I might have some serious haters online if we didn't start the tour in San Antonio. Yeah. How dare you not start this thing in San Antonio? But yeah, so that's really fun to start it here. And yeah, San Antonio's always been great to us, you know. Every hometown has its, or every band has its own, you know, hometown story.
Right. Sure.
Sometimes it can be a love-hate thing. Just there's always some weirdness, of course, but yeah, for the most part, it's been fantastic. So we're really excited about that being the first show.
Very good. Well, it's been a long time since the Union Underground released that debut album to where you're at now, and album sales are totally different now. You know, with album sales not, you know, the actual tangible physical product not being of the popular culture any longer, how do you guys approach, I guess, now going on a tour and selling merch? Because it seems like the merch sales is what kind of drives the band as far as, you know, dollars and cents mode now. How does it work out for you guys?
Yeah, as far as keeping the machine rolling down the road, I mean, merch really is the thing. You know, at least, you know, when we're doing these kind of runs, you know, like a club run, it 100%, you know, fuels the fire for sure. So, it's just, you know, I can't imagine, starting a band now in the way the music business is. Like I really feel for these guys, and some of them are thriving, which is fantastic, but it's talk about a tough environment to begin your career with the way, money is made and it's not made, you know, frankly.
Oh yeah.
With music. Yeah, it's daunting, man. So, it really is a way to keep guys on the road and to keep, you know, bands that you like. You know, fans need to realize that. And also, that's also why, you know, merch prices can seem kind of ridiculous at shows, but it's like, hey man, this is the only way we can get this shit done.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. So, you know, and I think for the most part, people understand that, you know, but yeah, it really is. I mean, it's really kind of the way to get it done on the road these days.
Well, this past year in 2023, I went to many shows where, you know, merch tables were very advanced in the type of product that they were selling, where there was all kinds of different stuff besides shirts and actual, you know, albums and CDs and whatever, you know, just all kinds of different stuff, wristbands, you name it. And I went to a Blue Oyster Cult show this past year, and they sold one style of T-shirt and one style of T-shirt only, and that was it. So when it comes to your merch table, I guess, how advanced are you when it comes to selling, the Union Underground merchandise?
It's going to be pretty elaborate, but what's funny though? I love that model, that Blue Oyster Cult thing. Like I love that. It's almost like the way, cause sometimes when you only have one thing to choose from, that's just the thing that you talk about.
Yes.
It's kind of like music as well, releasing music in a different way to release music these days. Is that if you release a single only, then that's the only thing that people will buy, talk about, share, do, until you release something else. If you release 14 songs, then, there's not a specific thing to focus on. So it is definitely kind of a different, era, right?
Absolutely.
But merchandise wise, we're actually launching a Union Underground apparel store in a few weeks before the run starts. So what we're going to do is not have too many ridiculous items like on the road, and there'll be very convenient ways to get online even at the shows and purchase things while you're there at the merch booth online, like the more kind of novelty items and, all the things that we don't need to carry around on the road. But you can very conveniently purchase them right there.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah.
But, we'll obviously have, the obvious kind of tour shirts and hoodies and hats and beanies and that kind of thing. And especially, during the season going through the Midwest, those things are pretty popular.
Yes, they are.
But, as far as like the kind of tricky stuff, all that, we're going to just keep all that stuff online and have materials that will be given to people that they will conveniently be able to purchase, with QR codes right there at the venue.
Very good.
Yeah. And I don't want to talk any specific amounts, but today, in today's climate with some concerts, it seems like the ticket prices are getting out of control. Is there any kind of conscious effort with this tour package putting together to kind of keep it reasonable for the fans, or is that even thought about, or is it just a product of, there's inflation, so we got to raise the prices?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything by design. It's really just kind of left up to, and we're doing club / a few small theaters type of run. Mm-hmm. So we knew the prices. That it's kind of left up to the promoter, really. I mean, you can put a restriction on it if you feel it's ridiculous, but I think everything's right in that kind of $25, $30 range.
Nice.
So. Yeah, I mean, we knew that the prices would be reasonable. So, man, I mean, some arena stadium shows are insane.
Yeah.
Oh, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Some of them are just impossible.
A buddy of mine and I were going to go to the Eagles are coming through. They're $575 a seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's insane.
Unreal.
I mean, that's a legendary, I mean, it's obviously a different deal, but still. I mean, when I was a kid, the biggest bands on the planet, you'd pay $40 max, Of course, that was several years ago.
I know.
It's bizarre to think that bands from the early 2000s are now considered heritage acts.
I know.
It's so like weird to me, but they are. They're considered heritage acts.
Very disturbing, guys. It's very disturbing.
But, in that retrospect, do you embrace the Heritage Act label in this portion of your career with the Union Underground?
I don't mind it, man. It's funny because I've seen a couple of comments come up on, just social media and stuff like, dude, I'm such a fan of dad rock, and we're considered dad rock, I guess, You know, I don't even know what that term means, but I mean, I guess it's, you know, from the era, you know. So, sure. I mean, whatever. I mean, reality is what it is. You can't polish that over, you know. Yeah. Sure. I embrace it.
Yeah, take it for what it is, for sure, man.
Well, yeah, I wanted to bring it forward a little, or back, I guess, now, back to Cult to Follow. You had talked about that band, and 2017 you had an album, The Inception. I listened to that today and really liked it. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the making of that album?
Yeah, you know, that project, it was crazy how that came together, because it was probably 2008 when I first finished up some of the demos for that. And this was before, so if you think about like kind of 2007 or 8, this was still kind of MySpace. YouTube was still not, you know, monetizing things properly. No one was tracking anything properly online. Yeah. And somehow the demos from that got online and got spread around like crazy, you know? And, so a lot of people knew about it before I actually released it. And so the crazy thing is, really what's released are the demos from what I consider demos, or, you know, overproduced demos, right?
Yeah.
That were never really meant to be released, but they had been floating around the internet for so long, for several, you know, 2 or 3 years, and I was like, well, you know, I'm just going to release these versions that everyone already knows. So that's kind of what, you know, The Inception is. And obviously it's cleaned up and some things are kind of retracked here and there. And, some of the sonics are a little better than the originals. But as far as just arrangements and the songs themselves, that is the product that was floating around for so long. And, you know, I finally just released it officially in 2017, and then released a couple of singles after that. But yeah, it was kind of a crazy story, because it was just the Wild West back then, you know. I mean, now everything's really tracked properly. There's no way anyone can try to upload a song of someone else's on their YouTube channel. Like it'll get smacked immediately, you know. Which is nice that, you know, things are being tracked properly. But, you know, back then it was like, I mean, you know, there were guys that had YouTube channels that had millions of views of my songs, you know, before I released them.
Wow.
You know? Because MySpace, you know, back in the day, like MySpace, you could put up like, you know, full tracks and they would only play in your player and they were not downloadable. But I mean, anything that you can listen to from beginning to end is downloadable somehow, right?
Absolutely.
But this is before everyone was really aware of, you know, controlling these things. So man, you know, by the time I put that out, I mean, there were just millions and millions and millions of views of all those songs all over YouTube, which now, you know, in retro, you know, is being compensated, which is nice. But the point is, you know, it was a crazy way to like kind of combat what was already, you know, being kind of manipulated online. So like, man, I'm just going to, because my intention was to re-record a lot of it. Some of the arrangements would have been slightly different, whatever. And it's like, but you know what? It's like, man, I just need to kind of get this out now before this madness continues, you know, so that the, you know, the actual songwriter is getting compensated properly for all these views. So it's such a different world, you know, like just even the conversation we're having right now is so ridiculous. Like why would an artist have to deal with something like that?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's nuts.
It is.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to follow up with, I really enjoyed the album. Is there any plans to, follow it up or make any more music with that band?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, Cult Flaw will always be active. I mean, that's, that's definitely, Union Underground does not at all like hinder that, I mean, obviously you got to divide time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's actually a new, Cult Flaw single coming out shortly called It Comes in Waves. And that will be, the goal was to get it out before this Union run starts, but realistically it'll probably be early summer when I release that.
Nice.
Very good.
The Cult is 100% active.
I want to bring this back to the Union Underground. The An Education in Rebellion album still holds that cult-like status in this era of rock and roll and metal.
Pardon the pun.
But it really does. It still has this following, this cult following. When you were in, the rest of the band were in the studio writing and recording this album, did you have any idea that you were onto something that was going to have this draw all these years later?
Well, yeah. I mean, you sometimes you do kind of, well, not all these years later. I mean, I knew we were working on something special, it really did feel like, man, this is actually going to be a really good album. I mean, it's an eclectic mix of songs. It doesn't sound like you just kind of listen to the same song over and over, or 10 songs. So I knew, I didn't, to be honest, I didn't think it would do that well commercially. I mean, I grew up on radio rock. I'm an arena rock kid. I get it. I mean, and I didn't think that record, had that kind of thing to it. And I was totally fine with that. I was very pleased with it. And, I was like, whatever happens with it happens. I mean, I was 100% passionate about it. It's like, this is the best thing we can do at the time. And, sales, no sales, it'll be fantastic. So, and it had, respectable sales. I mean, it wasn't some big blowout record, but like you said, as far as, a fan base, it's a massive favorite for so many people. And what I like about all the comments that I see and have heard over the years is that they can put that record on and not skip anything. That's a huge compliment to me.
Yes.
Because that's exactly how I felt about it when we were making it. It's like, that's the kind of record I wanted to make. And I'm glad that people, responded to it that way.
And, another thing about what fascinates me is when you say that the album you feel is from top to bottom, the tracks in between are as strong as anything else. It never felt like the album ever had like a deep cut or a B-side to it. Everything felt like it was as strong as the next. Was that kind of the goal of the band to say, hey, this is not going to be a filler album. This album is not going to have a deep cuts. This album is going to be full of supercharged songs?
Well, thanks for the compliment. And I don't think you can ever kind of design that, if you could, tell me where to sign up. I mean, it's impossible to bottle that magic and kind of reproduce it. But, I mean, it's funny that you say that because we knew that you kind of know when you're working on a record that, okay, well, these 3 songs are probably what's, the record label is going to think is a single and, blah, blah, blah. Radio, we all kind of know how radio works. They're only going to pick up certain songs that sound a certain way. So we kind of knew that, well, these songs that we've created are probably going to be the ones that radio catches on to. But that didn't really, it's like, okay, well, that world is what it is. But, even I think myself, just as a songwriter, I don't, I mean, I love to put on like old Pink Floyd records and Zeppelin shit. It's like, 7 minutes long. And like, I love that stuff. But for me personally, when I'm sitting down writing, I love just shit that gets to the point and, they're 3-4 minutes long and they just kind of kick your ass for a few minutes and then we move on, at least with Union Underground. I mean, that's kind of that, again, that's kind of the difference with Cult that I feel. And with Union Underground, like Union Underground, I just like to get to the point, get the madness out and, be done with it.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's why that record's only, I think it's only 38 minutes total,
Yeah.
I think the Friend song on that record is only like 2 minutes and, 15 seconds long.
Well, hey, it worked. It worked well.
Yeah.
You guys had released a live EP back in 2002. Are there any plans to record any of this upcoming tour and maybe release some live tracks?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? That's a good question, and I hadn't even thought about doing that.
I think we're onto something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have just unleashed a monster there. You might have just let my crew like have a complete meltdown. Like, oh my God, Sco's gonna have us record this shit every night. No, I mean, maybe not on this run, but I would like to revisit. Live things are kind of fun. I kind of grew up on, records in the 80s, with live records. Even as a kid, I always felt like, well, what is the point of these things? I mean, but they are kind of fun. It was fun putting that one together was kind of crazy because we didn't really have the tracks that we needed, I mean, it was, we'd recorded a lot of songs on the road and man, when we were putting it together, cause we just needed like just some material, just a release while we were, jacking around with the second record. So, we agreed to put out something just in the interim. And, man, we were trying to dig through stuff and it was hell coming up with, what we thought would work for a live. I mean, there were some tracks where we were taking, live drum tracks from one show and then actually mixing it into another show to see if it would work. Because, and because, it's sometimes when you're recording a live show, I mean, all kinds of things go wrong. Like a mic gets bumped or something, like you can no longer hear the kick drum and the thing or whatever. It's like, oh, well, fuck, we can't use that song. Or, there's a million technical things that can happen. And also too, even knowing that I was recording a live show, I would still just do whatever I'm doing, like audience wise, and let them sing parts and blah, 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 which doesn't always work, in a live recording. It's like, well, he jumped into the audience during this whole chorus. Like now we can't hear it on the whole song, just silly shit like that, So yeah, it was a struggle trying to find the best takes for that stuff. But it came out cool in the end,
It did.
So
yes, it did.
Going through that chaos again, yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Into the Fire, that was another band you had. Speaking of Tim and Adam from Soil, was that a fairly short-lived band? I know you only had like one EP, and I think there was a teaser of another song coming, but I don't think it was released, right?
Yeah, so Into the Fire thing it's another one of those things that is technically active, but we don't. It's a quote unquote side project, which, I hate that term, but it's just kind of, it is what it is. Whenever everyone involved can kind of get together and do it, we're sitting on a song that is fantastic and I hope we can, get that out sometime this year. During this process would be fun. And, not before the tour, but, sometime in the summer or the fall, because it's really, really good. And, it has to see the light of day. And it's been several years since we put that 2-song thing out. And I love the songs. It's funny. Yes. What's great about it is it's kind of just like straight up rock and roll. And we all get to kind of get out of our boxes a little bit, it's a little more straight up rock and roll for what those guys are used to musically. And for me, lyrically, I get to do something that's, it's a little more campy than I probably would with my other projects, which is fun,
Yeah, it's great.
It just kind of comes from like just a old school rock and roll thing,
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love the 2 songs we released are fantastic. And, we definitely have one that has to get out for sure.
Nice.
We're excited.
Yeah.
All right, I got one more question for you, then we'll leave you alone. So I want to take this back to the Union Underground again. Back in 2000, you guys opened up for Marilyn Manson. This is back when Manson was the top shock rocker of his time. Mm-hmm. That experience had to be exciting for you and the rest of the band, and maybe a little bizarre as well. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that tour and everything that was involved with that tour and touring with Manson?
Yeah.
If you can talk about it.
Yeah. The things I can talk about, I will. Manson, and he's such a nice guy, and we actually had a really good time, and we did Ozfest after that tour, in which Manson was on. So we got to kind of continue that relationship and just the craziness of all that stuff. Yeah, it was Guns, God, and Government, that tour. And, the way it came about was crazy because we knew that we were already in talks about it. And I hadn't received like the green light yet on whether or not, we had been booked for it. And I was watching, this is probably like a 2-month period before the run started. And, we had been talking with their camp, for a few weeks, probably even a couple of months, but, hadn't gotten the green light yet. And I was watching TRL, if you remember the show on MTV, TRL,
yes.
with, what was the host's name? What is that guy's name?
Carson Daly.
Carson Daly.
Yeah.
He's on the Today Show. Is he still on the Today Show?
Yes, he is.
So, yeah. So, Manson was on. I was like, I'll check out Manson today. I saw that he was going to be on TRL, and it was some single from that record that he was pushing. And on the show, he announces that we had, and he was super cool. He's like, we have this fantastic band from Texas that's going to be opening all the shows on this run called the Union Underground. He's like, man, I'm a big fan of theirs, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, I hadn't gotten the green light yet. I'm watching this thing on TV and like, wait, okay, so I guess we're doing this run. Like, you know what I mean? Mm. So yeah, that's how I found out that we were actually confirmed for it. Like, on TRL.
That's cool.
So, and, subsequently we, that run, it was amazing for us. To be honest, like a Manson crowd is, very loyal to,
mm-hmm.
his thing, obviously. So we did have some contentious nights with the crowd, which only make it more Manson-ish, I guess.
Exactly.
So, but it was a lot of fun. It was fantastic. He's completely insane, very fun and very sweet. all at the same time.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
Just if you're looking for anything Union, it's theunionunderground.com. You can find just that's the hub for everything.
Mm-hmm.
All the social stuff, merch, blah, 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 tour dates, all the obvious stuff. And, just be expecting new music this year, and we will be announcing several kind of interesting things for the year. And, look forward to a full-blown 2025. For sure.
Yeah. We're so excited for you guys. So this is how things are going to...
Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is how it's going to work out. We're about 2 weeks behind on our episodes, but Jeff, the editing wizard over here, he'll get it all cleaned up, and then I'll send it to your press person. I'll send it to you if you'd like it directly as well. And please just share it wherever you possibly can on all your socials.
Will do.
Bryan, thank you so much. It was a true honor, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Take care, and we'll be in touch about 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Be well. Take care.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.